Welcome to Adorable Corner, where sensible reigns. It is our promise to keep you informed and entertained with all that makes sense. Do subscribe to this channel and like our videos always.
So, yeah, we've got Android 10 dropping as this podcast hits the airwaves, which is exciting. And, Joe, you are doing an all-encompassing, comprehensive, mega-uber video about Android 10. And we're Android Authority, so Android 10 is kind of our jam. So we thought we should have a podcast about it. So let's get started. Let's just dive right in and roll up our sleeves and do all those other cliches that people do when they're about to get to work. So let's do that. Let's just dive into Android 10 and let everybody know what's up. So, Joe,
yeah,
what's up?
So Android 10 has 3 or 4 big overarching themes this year. It was the UI changes with the gesture controls. You have a bunch of new features. I don't say a bunch of new features, but more new features than we've seen in previous years. And then, of course, your under the hood stuff, and then your security stuff. So where would you like to start, sir?
Why don't we start with just like I think we should start with the UI, like the thing that everybody's going to notice, like right off the bat, right?
Yep, the thing that everyone's going to notice are the gesture controls. I've been using them for a few months now. We've talked about it on the podcast before, and I simultaneously love them and hate them. So for the uninitiated, it's fairly simple. Everything takes place at the bottom of the phone. Swipe up and let go to go home. Swipe up and hold to access the recent apps. And then the back button is replaced by swiping in from either the left or the right side, and that's adjustable in the settings.
Okay.
And then there's like some little tricks that I point out, or that I don't say point out in the video. By the way, there's a video of this that's going up at around the same time this podcast is. But like if you pin an app, you have to do the recent apps gesture to unpin the app. So like there's little things. Google did think of everything, but it's not all obvious right on the onset.
Okay. A little bit of a learning curve.
Yeah, a little tiny bit of a learning curve. Once you get used to it, it's actually a lot faster than soft keys in a lot of cases.
Okay.
Except for one spot. There's one part where it just killed it for me. So you know when you're web browsing and you find those sites and they kind of trap you there and you have to like hammer on the back button on the soft keys to get away from it.
Oh yeah, I just run into those all the time.
Yeah, or just close out the Chrome tab. Those sites are basically impossible to deal with these controls because you have to like double or triple tap the back button because you have to go back and then you have to like back up further before the site reloads itself. I don't know.
Yeah, I know.
Mobile web browsing blows like that. This is impossible to deal with that kind of stuff with. You have to basically close the Chrome tab. And I ran into that on Android's developer website, believe it or not.
Excellent.
It wouldn't let me leave. I was just like, let me go back, and it won't let me go back. So other than that particular instance, everything else about it is actually really nice. You don't see anything but this little gray bar at the bottom of the screen. It doesn't even show up on the home screen. Like it looks totally clean. Swiping up on the home screen opens the app drawer, obviously. And then I'm also a big fan of the recent app switching.
Okay. How does that work?
So you slide horizontally across the bottom of the phone, left or right, and you basically just cycle through all of your recent apps. Before, this functionality was double tapping the recent apps button, and you could only switch between two, right? Like you're alt tabbing.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah. This time around, you can keep going all the way to the end and then back again. So you're not restricted to just switching back and forth between two apps. You can switch back and forth between all the apps, and it's rather quick, and it works like 98% of the time. Like there was one time where I had Google Assistant up, but I didn't say anything, and then like I swiped away and then swiped back, and like I was trying to swipe past it, but it stopped me. I was like, wait. Google Assistant's active. You need to talk now.
You forgot to say something, brother.
Exactly.
I can't be awesome if you don't tell me how to be awesome. I get it. Okay. So,
yeah,
all right, yeah.
And if you don't like them, you can go into the system settings and change it back to the Android Pie gestures or the old school 3-key navbar. So Google isn't killing off the old ways just yet.
Okay.
And I'm actually a fan of there being three.
Three different options?
Three different options to navigate through the phone.
Oh, sure. I would say, like, yeah, it sounds like Google's not killing it off, but it kind of sounds like the writing's on the wall. So, like, you might want to, just for the sake of getting used to using things how they're going to be, might not be a terrible idea to start forcing yourself. Maybe, like, do it once a week, like every Wednesday, you switch to the gesture navigation just to, force yourself to get used to it.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm totally used to it already. It really doesn't take that long to get used to it. Maybe like 3, 4, 5 days maximum.
Yeah.
And I've been using it for months. So like I'll be walking around with my S10 Plus and I'll swipe up to go home, and it doesn't work.
And you're like, what the heck?
Yeah, what the heck is wrong with this thing? And like swipe in from the side. There is one curiosity though. This is like a minor digression. When we get to a phone that has like a completely bezel-less display, and we're getting there. You've seen what Oppo and OnePlus have been doing.
Yeah,
lately.
that Vivo that we talked about in the last podcast.
So many of these gestures require coming in from the side or from the bottom.
Okay.
How are you supposed to do that one-handed when your phone doesn't have a bezel to start at?
Yeah, that's going to be rough, because it's definitely not going to be as easy as it is when you do have a bezel to start on. So I definitely see where you're going with that.
Yeah, I'm apprehensive about their current implementation of the back button, but everything else, everything else starts from the bottom.
Okay.
So everything else is like really easy to remember. Left and right to change apps. Up to go home, up and hold for recent apps, and like that's basically all you need to know.
Okay.
And then the back button is from the sides. So I'm not sold on the back button yet. I miss a good portion of the time.
Oh sure.
We've had 3 different navigation methods in 3 years.
It's like Windows 7, weird. Windows 8, and Windows 10.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, just...
Actually, I didn't draw that parallel before, but you're right. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, like just 3 completely different things. And anyway, all right, so cool. So let's talk about those love handles then, why don't we? And we've talked about them on the podcast before, but remind us like what the functionality there is.
Yeah, I was going to say that, but for all the people at home, basically, the love handles are the replacement, because with this current soft key method, and even with the Android Pie method, you long press the home button, and it opens up Google Assistant. Mm-hmm. To replace that functionality, they put these little love handle sensors, I guess, in the UI in the bottom left and right corners of the screen, and you kind of just swipe diagonally out from them in order to access Google Assistant. It works exactly the same way.
Okay. Cool.
Oh, I should also probably mention that they work the same on both sides, and so does the back gesture. So if you want to use it left-handed, it works identically to if you use it right-handed.
Hooray for lefty inclusion!
Yeah, ambidextrous Android.
Yeah, getting that final 10% happy too. I like it. Cool. All right, so let's talk about that dark theme. So how's that shaping up for you? Are you in love with the dark theme already? I am not a dark theme person. Is there anything here that's going to make me change my mind?
Nope.
Okay, good.
Not a damn thing.
Excellent.
It's just an AMOLED black theme. So it's actually identical to the one that Samsung has on One UI. It's just a toggle in your quick settings. You drop down, you hit the quick setting. What was white is now black.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then the text changes too, because the text can't be black. That's basically it. It's super simple. You can find it in the display settings, and I actually found it in the accessibility settings too, at least on the Pixel 3a.
Oh yeah.
So I thought that was kind of weird, but it's in 3 different places, 3 completely different places, and I thought that was interesting.
Let me ask you this. Now, one thing I noticed with Samsung's night mode, and I was actually doing some work with night mode recently, so this is fresh on my brain. I noticed that there were a lot of apps that didn't conform to like a dark theme or a dark mode. Like even Samsung's own, like Samsung Health, didn't conform to a dark mode. Now, is this more of a system setting that's going to be more system-wide, or is it still going to require developers tie into the API in order to enable a dark theme? Or however developers do it. I don't speak developer.
It's the second one, yeah. The developers are going to have to code it in
to
work with the dark mode, or just have their own dark mode in place already.
Okay. Yeah, because I noticed, like, even Chrome on a Samsung phone didn't switch to dark mode, even though you would think, like, because Google's been implementing dark mode all over the place, but even Chrome didn't confirm to dark mode. I had to use, like, Samsung Internet Browser in order to get it to do a dark theme.
Yeah, because my test for this is Facebook, right? Because Facebook never themes freaking anything.
Oh,
ever.
okay.
because Facebook sucks like that. So like when I turn on dark theme on the Pixel 3a and open up Facebook, it's still white.
Okay.
So it does. That indicates to me that it doesn't reach into applications, at least not applications that Google can't have a hand in itself. I didn't notice actually any apps turning to dark mode when I enabled the dark mode on the Pixel 3a. So, but that is another thing I did not play with a whole bunch.
Yeah.
Because dark mode looks like crap on camera, so I did most of my video with the phone on its regular mode.
Gotcha. Okay. Interesting. Okay. I mean, it's still good that dark mode is going to be there, and it seems like with time, I think more and more developers will probably roll out dark mode compatibility. So at least laying the groundwork is there, but we can't wait to see what the developers do with it. Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, man. It's not going to be the last time you say that in this podcast.
No, probably not. Probably not. So what new features are we going to see in Android 10 then? What's really new that I think that are going to get people excited?
Okay, so when I started doing the new features section of this video, I noticed that a lot of stuff that Google was doing was either accessibility or improving existing things.
Okay.
So we'll start with accessibility because it's the best new feature that I've seen Android do in years, and that's the live caption, right? We talked earlier about live transcribe being a part of the accessibility menu.
Yes.
It's also an app in Google Play if you want to try that. And then sound amplifier is also there, right alongside live transcribe. And that's actually a theme that I've noticed. We're going to talk about live caption in just a second, but when I finish this out, this little point, live transcribe, sound amplifier, both apps in the Google Play Store that you can get on any phone right now.
Okay.
Additionally, one of the changes to digital well-being is the inclusion of Family Link directly in the settings menu, which is another app that you can go download from the Play Store.
Right, but having that integrated into the OS, I think, will be awesome.
Oh no, it doesn't work without the app.
Oh, okay. So you need to install the app first, and then you can have those system settings.
It's in the system settings, and when you go to access them, it prompts you to download the app from the Play Store.
Okay. So either way, you get there. All right, cool.
Exactly, and so that's a little bit of a theme. Is like Android's stretching out and it's adding in these new features and all these new things in the settings menu, but it's not building into the OS. It's something that you can go get from the Play Store. So like if I don't have any freaking kids, I'm never going to use Family Link. It's not on my phone. The option to turn it on is there, and then I go download the app and turn it on from there. But if I don't want it, it's just not there. So I thought that was really, really cool.
That is neat, actually. Now that you mention it, now that you put it in that perspective, because obviously I do have kids. I want to get Family Link going. In fact, that's actually on my to-do list. Actually, when I was reading over like the new features that we were looking at, I'm like, oh, Family Link, yeah, I should get that. I should get that going. And especially now since it is available in the App Store. So I definitely want to get that going. But for you, what do you care? Why should you have to even have to worry about it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Plus, and this is something else that I really liked about it, is if you want these features, live transcribe, sound amplifier, Family Link, you can get them on much, much older versions of Android. They're just not in the settings menu directly.
Right.
So, it's like Google is developing these new features, but they're making them, omnipresent, right? They're available to everybody.
Yeah.
But it's also in the OS, accessibility menu or in the, digital well-being section if you want to access it there. So like more accessibility things, more, parental control things, both in the Play Store and in the OS, and it's the same thing all the way around. It's just one big circular experience. It's all the same for everybody. I really thought that was cool.
And where people are going to expect to find them. So yeah, that is definitely very cool.
Yes. All right, so live caption, because this is the best new feature. I'm actually a little sad that it took us almost 23 minutes to get to this point. Live caption is kind of an extension of live transcribe, at least in terms of functionality. It's not literally that thing, but that's what it feels like function-wise. So what it does is it listens to the audio on the device, right? Any audio from anywhere, right? Music,
like,
if I send...
And the Android Authority podcast, for example.
Yes, podcasts like the Android Authority podcast, music, video content. If somebody sends you a voice note in a messaging app, it can do it here too, and it'll listen to everything there and then create captions for it live so that you can read it
in real time.
In real time.
That's awesome.
Unfortunately, yeah, it's freaking fantastic. I don't know. I've not seen anything quite like it. Of course, I also haven't literally myself seen it because I have a Pixel 3a, and apparently it's going to be only available on higher-end devices at launch.
Oh, okay.
I did not actually get to physically see this myself, but, you know, there's videos all over the internet. You can see it working.
Mm-hmm.
Really cool stuff. And it's accessibility settings just like live transcribe and sound amplifier. So you can get all three of those things in the same place, assuming you have a newer, higher-end Pixel device.
A newer, higher-end Pixel device. So there's two caveats there.
Well, yeah, because the Pixel 2 is more powerful than the Pixel 3a, isn't it?
Right.
I have to go watch that that Gary Explains video, or sorry,
the Speed
I have to
Test
go watch
G.
that. Yeah, I have to go watch that Speed Test G video.
Yeah,
to see
but still, it follows.
But
Okay. Yeah, I mean, live captions was probably when we did our Google I/O podcast. I think that was probably the standout feature that they showed off there.
yeah,
So-
that was the one where the crowd was like, "Ooh, that's really neat, actually."
Mm-hmm. It's something that I'm looking forward to, especially as a podcaster, because, I would like to have our podcast be accessible to more people as well. Or, sometimes you're listening to a podcast on a train or something, like, someplace that's, noisy. If you could just read along with a transcript as opposed to trying to listen, that's fine with us. And, hey, and I would like to take this opportunity to welcome all of our live transcribe readers.
Yeah,
So, yeah,
totally. Welcome to the podcast. Glad you can, be a part of it.
yes, and I'm kind of curious as to how well live transcribe is going to work on my stream of consciousness method of speaking. So, good luck with
Live
that.
caption,
Google.
by the way. Live caption.
Live caption. No,
live-
that's right.
yeah.
I'm sorry. Yes.
Yeah, live transcribe it does basically the same thing, but in from the microphone instead of from the file.
Right.
Right? So if you're standing there and you're talking to me and I have live transcribe working, it'll do the same thing as live caption. That's why I called one a logical extension of the other.
Yeah.
But it only works in that one use case.
Yeah. Okay.
Unless, it puts there what people are saying around you. And then you can talk to it, actually, or type, you can talk to it and turn it around. And we talked about that on the podcast before, too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's actually very powerful. Live transcribe is insanely powerful. It is a dark horse amazing feature right behind live caption.
Yeah. Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. So, let's talk a little bit about notifications, if we could, because there were some minor tweaks to notifications that I think are worth talking about.
Yeah, nothing too big. They removed the ability to snooze notifications, which I was happy about because it was too complicated anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you long press on a notification, you can set it to alert mode or silence mode, and take a guess what those do. Alert mode is normal, and then silence mode, the notifications will still show up in your notification shade, but it won't show up on the always on display, and it won't show up it won't pop down and notify you.
It won't make a noise.
Correct. It won't make a noise, and it won't make itself seen until you check for it later.
Yeah, which
And
I think is really cool, actually.
Yeah, no, I love that. That's the way I would want it to be done because, I'm in 5 or 6 Discord servers. I don't like Discord notifications, but I like knowing that they're happening.
Mm-hmm.
So, I would put that on silent, and then every now and again when I check my notification shade, I would see my Discord notifications. But I wouldn't hear them every time they went off, every 4 seconds.
So let's move on to Bubbles. Tell us a little bit about Bubbles. What's going on with Bubbles?
This is one of those features that I feel like people spend 20 minutes talking about, and you can explain it in under 2. It's Facebook Messenger's chat heads, but native to the operating system.
Okay.
That's basically it. Neat idea. I don't know. This is one of those things that it's not really available at launch. We're gonna have to wait and see what the developers do with it.
Oh, excellent.
Exactly. So this is one of those things you can't really. You can go in ADB and command line it. Something I could have done but didn't because it's buggy and crappy, and I didn't want to try this out buggy and crappy. I want to try it out in production and see what it's actually like instead of being like, oh, this is buggy and terrible. It's gonna be awful. So no. But it's basically Facebook Messenger's chat heads, but with other apps, and it's native to the OS, so the app developers don't have to do it anymore.
Okay.
And, we're going to have to wait and see what the developers do with it.
So is that going to be like a notification type then? Where you can have a banner notification or just whatever? Or you can also have a bubble? Or is that going to be how's that?
From what I've seen anyway, again, I have not tried this myself. It looks
Right.
like you open the bubble and the notification is in there. Like it's got its own little individual notification shade.
Okay. So, interesting. All right. Well, we'll have to see. We'll have to see what the developers can do with it.
It's never not funny to me.
Right. So, what's next? What do we want to talk about? Some smart replies then?
Smart reply, old feature, going to be on all messaging apps by default, and it'll now suggest apps to you in context. So, like, let's say, Mr. Dowd, that I text you a location to somewhere, an address. Smart reply, like when you open the notification where you would normally have the smart reply bubbles, you'll have a Google Maps option.
Oh, cool.
So just open Google Maps to look at it for you. I don't know exactly how granular that's going to be. It might just be Google search and Google Maps for all I know.
Well, we can't wait to see what the developers do with it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's basically it with the smart replies thing. Like they're making a big deal about. They made a big deal about it in the Google blog, but like frankly, this is another one of those takes 30 seconds to explain it, and that's all it is because we've had smart replies for a while now.
Yeah. It sounds like it's just enhancements to the same thing. So
exactly, and that's the big theme for this year. Because I mean, another feature, Overhauled sharing menu, replaces the old one, a little bit faster.
I remember that.
A
I
little
remember
bit
talking
easier.
about that. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I looked at it for like 4 seconds one time, and I was like, oh, that loaded really fast. Otherwise, it looks like basically the same.
Right.
I think the only other really interesting one that I liked, there were two more interesting ones that I really, really liked. Applications can now call up Wi-Fi and Bluetooth settings in certain situations.
Okay.
So, like, let's say I'm in airplane mode or something like that. I don't have an internet connection for some reason. Google Chrome will pop up my Wi-Fi settings to see if my Wi-Fi is on, like Wi-Fi, mobile data, and something else. I think.
Yeah, it'll be like, hey, there's no Wi-Fi here, and
check
you
your
want me to go to
settings.
a web page, and I can't do it because this is off or something like that.
Yeah, and instead of turning it on by itself, it prompts you to turn it on. So it's like a nice little mix of like it's secure enough, so where it doesn't make me feel like my things can turn my phone on and off at will.
Right.
But it's also there. It's like, I don't have to swipe down, get into the notifications, turn on my Wi-Fi because I'm not getting mobile data right now, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Nope, it's just right there, turn it on. Really neat little thing. Probably one of those things like all of us will see like 2 times a year for the rest of our lives, and then that's it.
If that, but yeah.
And then the other thing is there's the native ability for the phone app to determine if a call is spam. Right, and this is something that other OEMs have been able to do for a long time, particularly Samsung. At least that's where I see it all the time. And it'll silently block that call without you having to touch it.
Okay.
So it'll be like, this is a spam call, done. You get the notification that somebody called, and it'll tell you that it was likely spam, but you won't hear the phone ring. It'll stop the phone from ringing. It'll stop the telemarketers from bothering you.
Awesome.
So to speak, or at least the robocallers.
I'm on board with that.
Yep, and then the last thing, really tiny little thing, there's a seek bar on media notifications now, something I didn't realize I didn't have until it was added in Android 10. But yeah, no, that's basically it for the new features.
Nice. Okay, cool. So what about like under the hood? What are we getting there?
Okay, so I'm just going to run through this really quickly because literally none of this is anything I can show you right now because we have to wait and see what the developers do with it.
Well, I can't wait to see what the developers do with it.
The first one, actually, we're going to talk about this one for a second. Project Mainline, and this is a big deal. Project Mainline is a big deal. This thing allows aspects of the OS to get updates through the Google Play Store like an application.
Nice.
We're talking security updates, for instance. So, like, the conversation of, oh, well, I don't like buying XX phone because that OEM doesn't do security updates fast enough. That conversation dies with Android 10 because you get them from the Play Store, like an app update.
Yeah.
Like any app update. You can get them immediately as soon as they're available. You don't have to worry about the OEM anymore. And then some of the other components for that are media codecs. So like last year, I think it was last year or this year, I can't remember which one, we got the VP9 codec, or the V9P.
Okay.
I might have to look that one up later. But so that codec got added into Android. Stuff like that, we won't have to wait for OTA updates or brand new versions of Android anymore. We'll just be able to go in, and the Play Store will be like, oh hey, this new codec is out. Download it, add it to your phone, and then your phone will just be able to use it now.
I don't think it'll even do that. I think it'll just download it in the background.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I'm sure it'll alert you. All the examples that I saw on Google's website showed that it was like Google Play Store is downloading security patch.
Right.
Like
Right.
it's downloading an app update. So
Like all the app updates that you just swipe off.
Yeah, exactly.
You'll be swiping off the security updates as well.
great.
Good to know. Great.
Yeah, here in a few years, we're going to be swiping away security update notifications after spending years complaining about not getting them.
Right.
So yeah, Project Mainline, that's the big under the hood change this year.
That's awesome.
Yep. All right, so I'm just going to run through the rest of the stuff pretty quickly. There's a new thermal API that lets apps and games tune themselves down so your phone doesn't overheat. So like, let's say I'm playing PUBG, my phone starts getting too hot, it's getting up there. PUBG can be like, hey, this is one, spicy meatball, and turn down its graphics to the lowest setting to cool my phone down in case I don't notice, right?
That's pretty cool.
Apps will be able to do things like reduce web traffic, reduce the speaker volume, reduce, if you're streaming video, it'll be able to lower the video quality to kind of help facilitate that. So that's a neat little thing.
Yeah.
There is a new API that standardizes depth data for photographs. Basically, Android's ability to handle bokeh? Bokeh? How do you pronounce
Bokeh.
that?
I say bokeh, but yeah.
Bokeh, yeah, bokeh, whatever. That'll all be controllable in the OS.
Cool.
Which isn't that big of a deal because OEMs do this on their own anyway, but they don't have to anymore, and third-party apps can do it on their own without having to hard-code it themselves.
Yeah.
So I can't wait to see what the developers do with that one.
Right. That's good.
There's a new... Alright, so this one's... Alright, this was a little interesting because this is going to be one of those ones that everybody overlooks, but I understand its importance.
But not this podcast, damn it.
Yeah, not this podcast. We're not missing this one. There is a new API for audio playback capture, and this is significant because for the last couple of years, you haven't been able to do that. We're talking like full-blown call recording, video game audio capture.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, because for a while, you couldn't do that. Phone call recorders stopped working for a while because it's a quote-unquote security problem.
Well, yeah, it kind of is.
Yeah, so not only are they bringing it back, they're bringing it back in an official API. So we're getting my call recorder apps list is going to get updates soon. It's going to make me so happy.
Yay.
And then people who stream like video games on like Twitch or something like that will be able to include their game audio, something that they really haven't been able to do unless they use like an external device to capture it.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Yes. So that's gonna be a huge deal, right? Because we got Stadia coming up. Stadia's got a huge lean on streaming video games. People have been complaining about the lack of call recorders on Android for a long time.
Okay, yeah.
And so Google's fixing it. This is one of those little tiny things that like you're not gonna know that you give a crap about until you have to do a phone call with the Snapchat team and you have to record that phone call, and there's apps that can do it in high quality for freaking once.
Right.
And then you don't have to spend $20 on a transcription service because you can't hear anything. Sorry.
Gotcha.
Little bit of personal anger there.
I was gonna say we might have made things a little awkward, but okay, that's
a little
fine.
awkward. A little awkward. But yeah, and then the only other thing, foldable phone support. Obviously, we've known about that since Samsung and Google started working on it last December. And then improvements to multi-camera setups is the last big notable thing. Oh, right. Another quick thing. Xiaomi and Huawei featured the ability to share your Wi-Fi password via QR code instead of having to say it out loud.
Yeah.
Is also a part of this. Really
Nice.
easy to use. You just go into your Wi-Fi settings, hit share, put in your password or whatever, your fingerprint, and then boom, QR code. Somebody else scans it, they're connected to your Wi-Fi. Easy peasy.
Very cool. I like that. I like that a lot. That'll be fun. Cool. All right, so that's what we got going on under the hood, and that kind of transitioned us over nicely into security and privacy. So what kind of improvements are we going to see in that area?
All right, so there's a couple of smaller things like, more restricted access to IMEI, more restricted access to MAC address, background activities are being more policed by the operating system. Apps can't, control the camera or connection settings without expressed user permission. So like Facebook can never open your camera when it's not supposed to.
Okay.
Anymore. Apparently it could do that before, but it cannot do that anymore. So
I was going to say, it could do that now?
I don't know, right? That's one of those things. Like, is Facebook spying on us? We don't know.
I'll be right back. I need to go on and install Facebook. Okay.
Yep. But now we know for sure, at least starting with Android 10, that they cannot possibly do it. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
The big security thing this year, though, is the overhaul to permissions.
Yeah.
Previously, like you'd open up Facebook, it would say Facebook wants to know your location, and then you can allow or deny. This year, we get a third option: allow only while the app is in use.
Suck it, Gas Buddy.
I was gonna bring up Gas Buddy. Oh, you didn't give me the chance.
I'm sorry. That's a personal vendetta of mine, so you are
Yes.
not going to steal Gas Buddy from me.
So if you open up Gas Buddy and you select that second one, Gas Buddy will know your location while the app is open. And then when you're not using the app, it's not even like you have to go into your recent apps and close it out. As soon as you hit the home screen, Gas Buddy doesn't know your location anymore. It can't gather that information. That's not the only permission that works with. Recording audio, I think camera is another one, and a few other of the more sensitive permissions will give you that option. It's not all permissions. Not all permissions will give you that option.
Okay. So
then,
you can only record audio when the app is in the foreground and not.
You can have it set that way, right?
Okay.
Because you get the option to just hit, allow always, and then it never asks again. And then you can, obviously the settings menu has been revamped a little bit to take these new changes into account. Also,
Okay. Yeah, that makes
so you
sense.
can see which apps have permissions only when they're open, which apps have permissions all the time, and which apps have no permissions.
Gotcha. Okay.
Which then transitions me into this. This one was really unique because, like, I can explain the new permission thing in like 2 sentences, but this one always takes me about 4, and it's a little bit weird. So, Android 10 introduces something called scoped storage. It's a scoped storage API, and it will be mandatory for file browsers to use this API when Android R or 11 comes out.
Okay.
Basically, you have to give. You ever use a phone with an SD card, right? And you open up a file browser and you have to give it specific permission to access your SD card?
Okay, yeah. I'm familiar
Imagine
with that.
but for every folder on your phone.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
So I show it in the video, and it's a little bit better of an example than I can do over voice, but like Solid Explorer got it early. Thank you, Solid Explorer. Valuable B-roll right there. But basically, after you go through the thing, it'll say Solid Explorer needs permission to view this device at all.
Okay.
So it'll show you all the folders on your phone, and then you can select which ones you want Solid Explorer to have access to. So you can have folders on your phone that your file browser can't look at.
Okay.
They're completely hidden. If you want.
Super granular.
Yes, super duper granular, and then you have to do it again, I assume, for the SD card. So that's a neat little thing, because a big theme in Android 10 is it doesn't want apps to be able to see things that it did not create, or that they did not create.
Okay, that makes sense.
And because a file browser basically exists to look at those things, it has its own special permission that is different from the other ones, where it's like you can still look at stuff, but you have to get the user's express consent before you can look at even the downloads folder.
Okay. Well, yeah, no, I mean, that really does make sense because, like you said, a file browser doesn't really create files at all, so there would be no reason for a file browser to need permission to view files that it didn't create, except it doesn't create any files.
Exactly.
So, yeah,
Like,
that makes sense.
Yeah, because this is something we've experienced before, right? If you have Google Chrome and you download an APK, you have to give Google Chrome expressed permission to install that APK.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Right? Basically, like, think that idea, that premise, not that same thing, but that same premise, and just apply it to a file browser for the first time ever.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Except for, because the default option, if you just hit allow, it just allows everything. So it's just an extra step in case you want it there.
Yeah, better to have it not
I
need
thought
it.
that was nice. And by the way, Solid Explorer, good on you developers for having this done already before. We're recording this like 12 hours before Android 10 comes out. So
Right.
good on you, Solid Explorer, for having this before Android 10 comes out.
We are very happy to see what you did with it.
Yes, we got to see what a developer did with it.
Right.
Yay! I'm so happy.
Yeah. No, that is awesome. So
But that's the biggest thing for privacy, and then all the stuff I mentioned before. Most of it felt like an extension from Android Pie, so think back to like all the stuff that happened in Android Pie, and then just apply an extra layer to it, and that's basically what happened with 10.
Okay, great. Great. So, I mean, overall, we did, and, here's the really cool part, and here's how you know you have a really good update. You've got some flashy stuff. You've got the live captions, you've got the UI changes, but you've also got some really solid fundamental stuff, too, that maybe no one will even notice, maybe no one will even care about. But you know what? It's better, and that's the important part. So, yeah, I think that really points to this being a really solid overall update for everybody.
I consider this Android Pie 2.0. The Android Pie that should have been from the beginning, but Google's on a yearly development cycle and they ran out of time.
Yeah, that's fair.
And that's perfectly good. Like that, and people are going to hear that and they're going to be like, "Oh, yeah, boring update." No. It's good when tech companies finish things.
Oh yeah.
Right? That's good news, right? This feels like, if not finished, then like almost very nearly completed product. And so like I can't see how Google would build out any further than this, except for like maybe some even more finely tuned granular controls. I don't know how they can build out from this without introducing something completely new.
Right.
And I think we're starting to see some of that with Bubbles, with Project Mainline. We're starting to see these branches, right? These little tiny branches that are popping out from what Android used to be to what Android is gonna be. It's a bigger. I consider this a bigger jump from Android Pie because I mean the UI, the gesture controls alone make this feel entirely different from Pie, which with its gesture controls made it feel entirely different from Oreo. I consider these two of the biggest updates that we've had in the last 5 or 6 years since Lollipop came out.
Okay,
as horrible as Lollipop was, it was a huge change.
True.
And then Marshmallow and Nougat and Oreo made it better, and now we have Pie and 10. I hate that this doesn't have a dessert name, by the way. Queen's Cake. David Burke went on All About Android and said that it would have been called Queen's Cake.
Yep.
So I'm going to call it Queen's Cake for the rest of this podcast.
Okay.
Pie and Queen's Cake are just, they feel like a different product than what we had beforehand. So I don't know if I'd call this incremental, but just more of a separation from what was.
Yeah. No, that's solid.
I'm good with that. It's good. It's good stuff.
Yeah. Overall, like I said, this is definitely a huge, great update, and I can't wait to see what the developers do with it.
Thank you for your precious time, watching and listening. We value your comment on our videos. For questions and concerns, please call +234 806160 9134 or send a mail to emmanueljunaidh@gmail.com. EMMANUELJUNAIDH@gmail.com. Catch you on the next video. Cheers.